Welcome to the Explainer. So today we are definitely not just looking at a dry list of grammar rules or, some boring dictionary of financial terms. I want you to completely shift your perspective for a minute. Think of English grammar and financial literacy not as these annoying hurdles, but as a seriously empowering toolkit for absolute precision in your life. Because think about it. When you speak with clarity, you think precisely. And when you think precisely about your past, your feelings, and especially your money, well, that's when you really take control.
But let me ask you something. Have you ever found yourself mid-sentence, maybe you're telling a great story, and you accidentally say splitted, or bide, or field? Don't worry, we have literally all been there. English grammar can sometimes feel like three entirely different languages stacked in a trench coat, just waiting to trip you up right when you're trying to make a brilliant point. These basic errors are incredibly common and, yeah, endlessly frustrating. But acknowledging them, that is the very first step to sharpening up our communication toolkit. So here's a quick look at our agenda for today's explainer. First, we'll tackle the irregular past simple. Second, the ed and ing rule. Third, we'll figure out past simple versus present perfect. And finally, we'll wrap up with essential financial vocabulary. All right, let's jump right into section 1, the irregular past simple, and those tricky exceptions. There are no magical shortcuts for these verbs, unfortunately. They simply refuse to follow the standard rules. What's actually really interesting here is how the vowel sounds change entirely for some of these words, like buy becomes bought, feel transforms into felt. But then we get the sneaky case of a word like split. It doesn't change its form at all in the past simple. It looks like absolutely nothing has happened, which makes it incredibly easy to accidentally say splitted. But forms like splitted or bide, they just don't exist in English. Honestly, the best way to lock these into your brain isn't to just memorize a list, but to actively practice them in real context. Moving right along to section 2, the ed and ing rule, looking at cause versus feeling. Choosing the wrong ending here is a surprisingly common mistake, honestly, even at highly advanced levels of English, and it entirely changes what you're trying to say. This comparison brilliantly illustrates the difference. The ing form describes the cause of an emotion, for example, a boring film. It's the quality of the thing itself. On the flip side, the ed form describes the result, which is how you personally feel. The film caused boredom. Therefore, you experience the feeling of boredom, and you say, I was bored. So the crucial point is the super simple litmus test. If you can say, it makes me feel, use the ing form for the thing causing it. The presentation was interesting, so it made you feel interested. The news was surprising, so you were surprised. It's a tiny, tiny shift in spelling, but a massive, crucial shift in meaning. Let's apply this precision to the word welcome, because this one frequently trips people up. If a change is welcomed by the community, it means it was received positively. The people experienced happiness about it. But if we talk about a welcoming smile or a welcoming environment, we're describing a friendly atmosphere that causes you to feel good. Cause versus result, plain and simple. Master this, and your English is going to sound instantly more polished. Let's hit section 3, past simple or present perfect. It's all a matter of timing. Okay, this is perhaps the most debated tense comparison in the entire English language, but it really is just entirely a matter of exact timing. When you hear phrases like last year, 3 weeks ago, or Friday, you almost always need the past simple. Why? Because the action is definitively over. The time is clear, stated, and completely locked in the past. She bought a headset on Friday. Done. The transaction is finished. Now contrast this with the present perfect, which acts kind of like a bridge. It connects an experience or an action that started in the past directly to your life right now. You use it for experiences in your life when you aren't saying exactly when they happened, or for actions that happened recently and are still highly relevant today. Words like ever, never, already, and so far, well, those are your big neon signals that you need the present perfect bridge. I really want to emphasize the danger of mixing these up, though. Look at the incorrect example. I've gave. This is a huge trap. It mixes the auxiliary verb have with the past simple form gave, instead of using the required past participle given. Another critical error is using a finished time expression with the present perfect. Saying, I have given the money last year. Wait, actually, that totally breaks the timeline. Last year demands the past simple. I gave the money last year. Precision with time prevents a whole lot of confusion.
Which brings us perfectly to section 4, essential financial vocabulary, basically managing your wallet.
So now that you know exactly how to speak accurately about your past, let's apply that exact same clarity to the language of money. This clears up a massive source of confusion. Outgoings is the regular, recurring money leaving your wallet. We're talking rent, utility bills, your groceries. Expenditure is a slightly more formal term, referring to the total amount spent over a specific period. But then we have outcome. People constantly confuse this with spending, but an outcome is simply a result or a consequence, like having a positive outcome to a business meeting. It has absolutely nothing to do with money leaving your bank account. Let's walk through a practical mini narrative using these terms. Imagine you are setting a budget, right? That's your concrete plan for your money. You budget for your favorite video game subscription, a regular, reoccurring payment for a service. Now, your primary goal is to have savings left over, which is money safely put aside to grow over time. But maybe you want to grow it faster, so you consider an investment, putting money into shares or property for a future profit. But remember, unlike savings, an investment always carries risk. There is zero guaranteed return there. And this brings us right to the ultimate goal of financial literacy, your balance. Your balance is simply the exact difference between what comes in, your income, and what goes out, your outgoings. Achieving a positive balance simply means you are spending less than you earn. It is the absolute core indicator of your financial health. So let's break down the most useful starting point for understanding your own financial situation into 3 incredibly simple, actionable steps. Step 1, calculate your total income. Step 2, subtract your total outgoings or expenditure for that exact same period. Step 3, determine your balance. Doing this calculation regularly gives you the precise clarity you need to make genuinely informed decisions. Which leaves us with this final powerful question. Is your money working in your favor? When you master the grammar to express your exact timeline and pair that with the vocabulary to track your finances, you really aren't just learning words, you're empowering yourself. So take this toolkit, apply this newfound clarity to your daily life, and just watch how it transforms both your communication and your wallet. Keep learning and always keep asking questions. See you next time.